I want to bring in former acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf. Sir, welcome to our program today, and good morning to you. We've had a lot of reaction about this talk about an insider attack yesterday in our program. They said they have no intel to suggest that, but this was a precaution that they were doubling down. What are you to make of that posture?
Well, I think the vetting that is occurring with the National Guard and others is the same type of vetting that we see with most inaugurations. So the Secret Service, the FBI, and others are going to vet any individuals that are going to have close proximity or to have access to some of these sensitive locations around D.C. So I don't know that it's anything different than what normally would occur. I guess what is different now is the number of National Guard here in the D.C. area. You mentioned about 20,000, a little over 20,000. So obviously that is different, and that's unique to this inauguration than we've seen in others. But the fact that you would vet individuals that are, again, in sensitive areas of the inauguration is not anything that's new.
Okay, so here's the Texas governor, Abbott. This is the most offensive thing I've heard. No one should ever question the loyalty or professionalism of the Texas National Guard. I authorize more than 1,000 to go to D.C. I'll never do it again if they're disrespected like this. What he's talking about is Steve Cohen, a Democrat from Tennessee, who said this on CNN. Watch.
The Guard is 90-some-odd%, I believe, male. Only about 20% of white males voted for Biden. You got to figure that in the Guard, which is predominantly more conservative, and I see that on my social media and we know it, they're probably not more than 25% of the people that are there protecting us who voted for Biden. The other 75% are in the class that would be the large class of folks who might want to do something.
Well, what is up with that?
Yeah, from my perspective, those comments are offensive. They're disgusting, and every member of Congress should be demanding that he apologize for those comments. Essentially, what he's saying is that whether you work for the National Guard, law enforcement, FBI, or any other law enforcement agency, that if you voted for one candidate, you're unable to do your job and protect any individual that comes within your job duties. And so that's what he's calling into question, not only the loyalty, but just the professional responsibility that law enforcement, in this case the National Guard, have. It's out of line, it's over bounds, and we saw that throughout the summer where law enforcement was under attack day in and day out. And this is just another version of that, unfortunately. And again, I think most members of Congress should absolutely call on him to apologize for those comments.
And one member of Congress, Michael Waltz of Florida, of course, has served himself. He had this to say.
I think every veteran, every guardsman is offended by those comments. You know, it is not about the person. It is about the oath. They take the same oath as every member of Congress, those guards, men and women that are out there right now to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies.
And Chad, we had the general in charge of the D.C. National Guard. He said he does not want to be second guessed, and that's why they have this overwhelming show of force here. How do you think things will go tomorrow on Inauguration Day?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the security tomorrow, obviously we see an increased presence. I think it's gonna go well. We have the Secret Service in that command and control. There's a unified command here. And I think all of the players are doing their job. We have to remember that a national special security event, an NSSE, which is in place going all the way back to last Wednesday through inauguration, has been held here in D.C. for over 30 different times. And so the structure, the training, the battle rhythm that they have here is in place. They're going to do well. It's a different type of inauguration because of the COVID restrictions. And so we're having to adjust, and Secret Service and others are adjusting security to that different type of inauguration. So I think it will be well. I think there'll continue to be protests, as there should be. First Amendment, hopefully they will all be peaceful. We've seen this time and time again at different inaugurations. And I just hope as we move forward that there's not too much of a swing there. We don't allow individual groups, either side of the aisle, to, again, voice their differences and their opinions in a very peaceful way. A little concerned that most of those events were canceled over the weekend, because what we heard again during the summer is to make sure that we allowed individuals to voice their peaceful protests. So we need to make sure that we continue to do that, but that we do that in a very safe, secure manner,
Chad,
which is what is occurring during the inauguration.
Well stated. Sir, thank you. Chad Wolf, thanks for coming on today.